There's a figure in history that we all think we know. The lone swordsman, right? Wandering the misty roads of feudal Japan. The Ronin. We see him in movies, we see him in comics, this romantic hero silhouetted against a setting sun. But that image, it's just a shadow. The reality is so much more brutal, more desperate. And you know what? Ultimately, it's far more inspiring. So today, we're gonna walk right past that shadow and uncover the true way of the Ronin. It all starts with the name itself, Ronin. The characters literally translate to wave man. And just think about that imagery for a second. Imagine a warrior who was once anchored, securely tied to a lord, a castle, a whole clan, a fixed point in a very rigid society. And then one day, that rope is cut. He's set adrift on this vast, unpredictable ocean of life. He's not fighting the waves anymore. He is the wave. A person with no place, moving with the currents of fate, belonging to nowhere and to no one. To really get the Ronin, you have to feel the world that he lost. See, a samurai's entire identity was tied to his master. He lived inside the castle walls, a world of structure, of a guaranteed income, of honor. His path was clear, totally laid out for him from the day he was born to the day he would die. But for the Ronin, the castle has just crumbled into a memory. The open road is his home now, and it offers zero security, only the constant hum of danger and the crushing weight of uncertainty. A samurai was defined by his lord. The Ronin is defined only by his own will to survive. And that brings us to the exact moment every Ronin is created. When a lord was killed, or maybe disgraced, his samurai faced this stark, existential choice. Now, according to the code of Bushido, the honorable path was often seppuku, ritual suicide, an act of ultimate loyalty to follow your master into death. But some chose another path. They chose life. They chose to endure the shame, the poverty, the dishonor, all of it, just for the chance to keep breathing. The Ronin's entire existence begins with this defiant, desperate, and deeply personal choice to survive. So to really understand this path, we're going to chart his journey through 5 key stages. First, what it really meant to become the man made of waves. Then, we'll face the grim reality in the struggle for rice. After that, we will witness the incredible legend of one sword against 70. Then we'll uncover the philosophy of aloneness. And finally, we'll ask what the Ronin can teach us today, in a section we're calling Security is a Cage. All right, let's dive into our first chapter, The Man Made of Waves. You see, that choice to live was made in an instant, but the cost was paid over a lifetime. So what exactly was that immediate price for survival, for choosing to exist when honor demanded that you die? Okay, so the crucial point here is this. Becoming a Ronin wasn't just a career change, it was a social death. In the super rigid hierarchy of feudal Japan, a masterless samurai had no place. He was looked down on by other samurai as a failure, a total coward, he was feared by commoners as some dangerous vagrant, and he couldn't legally find a new master without permission, which, let's be honest, was rarely given. He was an outcast, a ghost haunting a society that had already written him off as dead. And this social death leads us right into the harsh reality of our second chapter, the struggle for rice. This is where we strip away all the romance of the wandering hero because a legend still has to eat. Yeah, forget noble quests. The reality was a desperate daily grind. I mean, these were some of the most skilled swordsmen in the world, and yet they were forced to take any work they could possibly find. Some became yojimbo, bodyguards for merchants, a class they once held in total contempt. Others sold their swords as mercenaries, guarding caravans, or maybe as muscle for seedy gambling dens. And many fell even further. Just picture this. A man trained to face down entire armies, now sitting in a cramped little room, his hands, once trained for the katana, are now painstakingly crafting paper umbrellas or lanterns, just to earn enough money to buy a single bowl of rice. And this right here, perfectly illustrates the central conflict of the Ronin. He might be working as a farmer, his hands literally in the dirt, but on his hip he still wore the daisho, that iconic pair of long and short swords that were the very soul of the samurai. They lowered their status, but they never, ever lowered their dignity. They did what was necessary to live, but they never forgot who they were or what they were capable of. And that tension, that profound dignity in the face of absolute disgrace, is the heart of their story. And that capability brings us to our third and most legendary chapter, because some Ronin didn't just survive, they became immortal. We're talking about the most famous Ronin of all time, Miyamoto Musashi, and the story of his impossible duel at Ichijoji Pine, a battle that would completely redefine what it meant to be a warrior. I want you to picture the scene. Dawn is just breaking over this single, solitary pine tree on a quiet moor outside of Kyoto. And waiting there, hidden among the trees and in the rice paddies, is the entire Yoshioka clan, the most prestigious sword school in the capital. And they are not there for honor. They are furious. Musashi, this upstart Ronin, has already defeated and humiliated their 2 previous masters in duels. So now they've set a trap. This isn't a duel, it's an execution. And Miyamoto Musashi is walking right into it, completely alone. The number of men they brought to face him, it was staggering. 70. 70 armed, highly trained swordsmen, all waiting in the shadows to ambush one man. For any normal warrior, this is not a battle, it is a slaughter. The rules of engagement, of honorable combat, they mean nothing here. This is the moment where the samurai code dies and the Ronin's way is truly born. Which brings us to the core question of this whole story. A samurai, bound by his code, he would walk in, announce himself, and almost certainly die an honorable death. But Musashi is not a samurai. He has no master to die for, no clan's honor to uphold but his own. So how does a Ronin fight when survival is the only thing that matters? He fights differently. First, he arrives hours late while staying hidden. Those 70 men have been waiting, getting tired, agitated, their focus just shattered by anticipation and doubt. He seizes psychological control before a single blade is even drawn. Then, instead of facing them head-on, he strikes from a totally unexpected direction. And he doesn't attack the soldiers, no. He goes straight for the leader, the young master of the clan, and cuts him down instantly. Chaos just erupts. The chain of command is broken. He uses the terrain, the trees, the low-lying rice paddies to break up their attack, turning their overwhelming numbers into a panicked, disorganized mob. And finally, when the battle is won and the Yoshioka school is broken, he doesn't stay for some final glorious stand. He escapes. He vanishes. He broke every single rule of honorable combat to follow the one unbreakable rule of the Ronin: survival. He didn't fight fair. He fought to win. This battle wasn't just a victory of swordsmanship, it was a victory of mindset. The adaptable, pragmatic, and absolutely ruthless mindset of the man who walks alone. Now, to survive like that, to think like that, it required a very unique internal world. And that brings us to our 4th section, the philosophy of aloneness. The Ronin's loneliness wasn't just a condition. For the greatest among them, it became their dojo, their ultimate training ground. To cope with constant danger, many Ronin cultivated a state called Mushin, or no mind. Now, this isn't an empty mind. It's a mind like water. It's not fixed or obsessed with any one thought or fear, but it's fluidly open to everything. It's the state of pure awareness that allows for instant, perfect reaction without hesitation. It was this mental state that let Musashi face 70 men and see not an army, but a series of individual moments, each one to be overcome. This is a clarity that can only be forged in profound solitude. And Musashi himself perfected this philosophy. In his final days, living as a hermit in a cave, he wrote the Dokkodo, which translates to the path of aloneness or the way of walking alone. It's this short, incredibly powerful list of 21 precepts for a self-reliant life. It is the ultimate manifesto of the Ronin spirit, distilled from a lifetime of conflict and solitude. This single line from the Dokkodos sums it all up perfectly. Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. This isn't a rejection of faith, not at all. It's an acceptance of ultimate responsibility. Acknowledge the great powers of the universe, sure, but know that at the end of the day, your sword arm, your wits, your will, that is all you can truly depend on. It is the philosophy of absolute self-reliance. Which leads us, finally, to our last section, where we bring this ancient warrior right into our world. Security is a cage. Why does this outcast from a long-dead feudal society still resonate so powerfully with us today? Well, it's because the fundamental dynamic still exists. The modern samurai? That's the corporate employee, the salaryman. They have the security of a guaranteed paycheck, the structure of the office. They're protected, but they're also bound by rules, by hierarchy, by a path that's been laid out for them. But the modern Ronin? That's the freelancer, the entrepreneur, the artist, the digital nomad. They have no guaranteed income. They face constant uncertainty. But in exchange for all that risk, they have something the samurai does not: total freedom. And this is the ultimate lesson for us. In a world where jobs can vanish overnight and entire industries can be disrupted in a year, the way of the Ronin teaches that external security is an illusion. It isn't found in a title or a pension or a company. The only thing you can ever truly rely on is your own skill, your own adaptability, and your own will to just keep moving forward. And so we end where we began. The Wave Man teaches us that a life of predictable safety can become its own kind of prison. That security is a cage. True freedom is the ocean. It's vast, unpredictable, sometimes terrifying, but ultimately it's the only place where you can truly carve your own path. The question the Ronin leaves us with is this: are you building a cage, or are you learning how to swim?